This is CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Juan Gotti Talk Sports. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you for having me on your show. It's great to be on, and I'm excited to talk about Washington Commanders, 49ers, anything that you want to talk about. I appreciate you for having me on again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media platform.
You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Juan Gotti Talk Sports. I want to roll to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube and 1,000 followers on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, again, Juan Gotti Talk Sports is where you can find me.
Yeah, man. I got to admit, man, you put on some good, solid content and you keep it up, man. But hey, here's an interesting question. This is probably one of the most interesting offseason questions that you guys had since this offseason. Here's a good question by one of my followers.
So, what do you say? How does the fella feel about the new name Commanders? Well, one, I want to say I appreciate you for saying I have some solid content, man. I put a lot of work into the channel, man, and I like what you have over here too with your Niners and NFL talk too. But how do I feel about the Commanders? The new name. Me personally, I don't care what the new name was going to be because at the end of the day, I was going to be a fan of this team regardless because the previous name, R-word, I want to bring that up because, a lot of people get touchy about that name. No name was going to ever be able to replace that name. And at the end of the day, again, I don't care what the name was going to be because I was going to be a fan of this team regardless. I was perfectly fine with football team, if I'm being honest. But Commanders is cool. We finally have a new identity, I guess. And I'm just worried about winning games. I just care about winning games. I don't care what the name of this team is going to be. It's going to be a diehard regardless. So all I'm focused on is winning football games, man.
Yeah, the thing about the Commanders, man, it kind of seems intriguing in some ways, but then they're talking about switching mascots too. Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, so apparently our new mascot is going to be revealed week 17, I believe, versus Dallas at home. And that's going to be interesting to see. I personally wouldn't have waited that long. I was a little thrown off as to why they wanted to wait that long into the season. I guess it'll give more, more content to talk about and more of a surprise at the end of the season to wait for. But I personally would have just, as soon as you announce the name, I would announce the mascot there. I don't know what it's going to be. I hear it's going to be like a person dressed up in like a Navy uniform or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be. I hear that we have a new fight zone that's going to be coming out week one. Week one. So we have some things up our sleeve, man. I'm excited. Shout out to Jason Wright for being pretty much the head of this whole rebrand and rebuild, along with Coach Rivera and everyone else. And again, I'm just excited to win games, man. I don't care what we're called.
Yeah, it's all about the team you represent too. So it's like looking into the Commanders' offseason, you guys had some other needs that you guys needed to fill. Did you guys fulfill that, or you guys still feel like you left a couple of pieces here and there?
Yeah, so again, no team is perfect. No team is perfect. And I felt like we addressed the biggest need that we needed to, and that was the quarterback situation. Carson Wentz is definitely still a question mark. We don't know what Carson Wentz we're going to get, but he's definitely an upgrade over Taylor Heineke, over one-leg Alex Smith, over Dwayne Haskins, may God rest his soul. Over anybody that we had not named Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz is an automatic upgrade, okay? So I look at it like this. I don't think we can be no worse than what we were with Taylor Heineke. We went 7-10 with Taylor Heineke last year, and we played one of the hardest schedules in the NFL last year. Definitely still have some holes that we need to address. I feel like we addressed another need was wide receiver in this past draft. We've drafted Jahan Dotson in the first round to get Terry McLaurin some help, along with having Curtis Samuel. Hopefully he can stay healthy and we can finally get to see what he can do in the burgundy and gold. You have Cam Sims. We have De'Ami Brown, who's our second-year receiver out of UNC. We have a lot of good weapons, man. And one thing about this team that a lot of people is going to find out with having Carson Wentz is that we have some underrated playmakers. Like De'Ami Brown's a name to watch for. Cam Sims is another name to watch for. Everyone knows Terry McLaurin. Well, I shouldn't even say everyone knows Terry McLaurin because he's still underrated himself because he hasn't had good QB play like the AJ Browns and DK Metcalf, so the people that's in that same range and draft class as him, So we have some underrated weapons, and we can even run the ball. And we have a lot of good pass catching backs and J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. Man, we're loaded. I'm not gonna lie, we're loaded. And it's all about the quarterback situation. What are we going to get out of Carson Wentz? He is what's going to determine our success or failure this upcoming season. Holes that I do think we need to still fill. I definitely still think we have a hole at the linebacker position. Cole Holcomb is a dog. He's a guy that's going to be our middle linebacker now. He should be due for a new contract extension coming up here shortly too. Jamin Davis, our second-year starter, our second-year linebacker, a developmental guy. We thought he was going to be our middle linebacker. Quickly found out that he's going to be more of a will linebacker. And that's a position that I just think we still need help at. I think we're going to run more 2 linebacker sets. So I think we're going to need some backup guys, some veteran guys like a Dante Hightower, somebody that I would take a chance on. And just overall with that position, I just don't even like our coach, Steve Russ. I don't think he is a guy that gets the potential and develop. He doesn't develop guys right at the linebacker position, man. So I think if anything, linebacker is the biggest question of need for me still heading into this season. Secondary, you could throw that up there too, but we did make some good moves this offseason with re-signing Bobby McCain, drafting Percy Butler. We have Cam Curl coming back, who's an underrated superstar on this team. And yes, I'm using the word superstar with him because he's really, really good in my opinion. But overall, quarterback was the biggest need for us, and at least it seems like we took care of that.
Yeah, when you look at the positions of what you guys were saying, like you guys have filled some needs good up there, but the NFC East is pretty wide open. Like despite people hyping Dallas and from last year winning the division, you see it change every year. So when you look at it, if history repeats itself, didn't Washington win a division by changing the name?
Yes, we won the division, okay. But granted, that division was terrible in 2020. I mean, like we won a division at 7-9. But I will say this: you're right about the division changing each and every year. We haven't had a back-to-back winner, which I believe it was the Eagles since 2004. Ever since 2004, it's been Dallas or New York or Washington or Eagles. It hasn't been a consistent division winner or back-to-back division winner since 2004. So it definitely is going to be changing. I believe so. If history tends to repeat itself like it has been for nearly 20 years, we're going to have a different team hoist the NFC East trophy this year. And hopefully it's Washington. Hopefully it's us. But yeah, we won the division by changing the name, and hopefully that is something that can help us again. Now we're going from football team to Commanders, and hopefully we win the division this year.
Yeah, it's wide open. Like you said, it's not the best division. It's kind of like I wouldn't say like kind of trash in some way. You guys have your competition, but when you look at the rest of the divisions, you got like the NFC North that's a little tougher. Then the NFC West, it's physical. Yeah. You look at the South, it's kind of competitive in some ways, but the East, you always have that one-sided team. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like you said, it changes every year. It hasn't been the same since the Eagles have won the division back-to-back. So people are kind of like hyping the Cowboys and say, are they going to be the team to win back-to-back? I don't know. Division changes every year. So when you look at Washington, the change of the culture, the change of the offseason for them is they had to go aggressive in the offseason, and they totally just did pretty well in the draft. So when you look at the draft, how do you feel about this draft class that the Washington Commanders did?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, man. My instant reaction, which obviously is going to change over time as I look into these guys. Your immediate reaction isn't going to be your overall reaction. That's what you have to learn with being a fan of sports and just a video creator for especially the NFL. My initial reaction to this first 2 draft picks, I didn't like the Jahan Dotson pick, and I'll tell you why. Initially, because we were sitting at 11. We had an opportunity to draft Jameson Williams, Kyle Hamilton. I believe Garrett Wilson went to the Jets at 10, so he was off, and I believe we were still able to get Chris Olave, and I wanted Chris Olave. I was fine with Kyle Hamilton if he fell to us because it was talks about him not falling to us. All those guys were there, but then we traded back with the Saints and recuperated draft capital from the Carson Wentz trade when we lost, some of those draft picks when we traded for Wentz. After really looking at it, they did exactly what I wanted them to do. So this is what I wanted them to do heading into this draft. I wanted them to draft a receiver, draft a speedster, and still get draft capital, right? And they did that. They literally traded back with the Saints at 16, and they got Jahan Dotson, who is a speedster, a guy that's fast, has great hands. So initially, I didn't like the draft pick of him, but then after really sitting down with myself and thinking about it, they did exactly what I wanted them to do, and that was draft a receiver and get draft capital. They literally did that. So hats off to Rivera and and everyone that was in charge, Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney. Round 2, I'll be honest with you. Still don't like the draft pick of Fedarian Mathis. He's a defensive tackle. We got him in the second round. Reason why we got him is because I don't think we're going to re-sign Daron Payne. I think we're going to let Daron Payne walk after this season. But you could find Daron Payne's replacement later in the draft. At least I felt like you can. He's not hard to replace. He's a run stuffer. He's not a guy that creates interior pass rush. And that's literally Fedarian Mathis. Fedarian Mathis isn't going to go out there and hunt. He's not going to go out there and get sacks. He's going to fall into sacks. He's not going to go out there and be an interior pass rusher like a Aaron Donald. That's just not what he is. And again, nobody's Aaron Donald, but you get what I'm trying to say here as far as creating interior pressure. So I really didn't like that one. Then we got Percy Butler, a safety who initially he was going to be they were showing his gunner highlights, right? But he's a guy that can be rangy and he can play everywhere. And I really like that pickup, man. I think he's going to come in here and make immediate impact. That's one thing that we did in this year's draft that we did different last year. So let me give you a little backstory. Last year, we basically drafted solely based on projection. The reason why we took Jamin Davis at 19 last 2021 draft is because we think he can be something special in 2 to 4 years. Drafted De'Ami Brown, a project, a guy that wasn't going to come in here and not make immediate impact, a receiver last year. This year, we drafted because we feel like this is a all-in year. We have Carson Wentz practically for 1 year. We are going to go all in, and we drafted guys that are going to come in here and make immediate impact day one. So that's why we got Jahan Dotson, a 4-year senior at Penn State. Fedarian Mathis, I believe he is a 1-year starter, but he's definitely been playing a lot at Alabama. We drafted guys that are veterans coming out of college as far as, actually playing multiple years starting. And we got those guys so they can come in here and, play week 1 and make an immediate impact. And then so like I said, you look at Percy Butler, you look at Fedarian Mathis, Jahan Dotson, and then you go the fan favorite pick. We got Sam Howell, okay? Sam Howell, the quarterback, or round 3, I'll go back round 3. Brian Robinson, the guy that I forgot that we drafted in round 3, running back out of Alabama too. I like the pickup of Brian Robinson. The only thing that it kind of cost was everyone believing he's going to overshadow Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is the running back 1 here. He is going to be the bell cow still. The only way he loses that is if he continues to fumble the ball. I like the Brian Robinson pick. I'm okay with it. He's going to be a little more than a short yardage back. He's not going to only play, when we need a first down. He's not going to only come in and be 2nd and 3 like Peyton Barber was 2 years ago for us. He's going to be more than that. Brian Robinson is going to be really good, and that duo could be something to watch headed into the future. Antonio Gibson is going to be due for a contract after this year, so maybe we let him go and just roll with Brian Robinson, because the running back position is now being devalued unless you're like a Christian McCaffrey kind of player that can, do it all, Alvin Kamara kind of player. Then in round 5, like I said, we got Sam Howell, fan favorite pick. I really like this pick because it's an insurance policy. If Wentz flames out and he isn't good, you could continue to develop Sam Howell, and hopefully he is what he can be the future quarterback for this team. But honestly, I'm hoping Wentz is the future. I'm hoping Wentz could just turn back the clock and go back to 19 wins. I would say 17 wins, but any wins really is better. Besides 2020, that was one of his worst years. But now round 5, Cole Turner, tight end out of Nevada. He is my favorite pick from this year's draft. He's a 6'6" tight end. But he plays like a receiver. He has hands like a receiver. He's a former wide receiver turned tight end. So I really have high expectations for this guy. Logan Thomas tore his ACL late in the season last year, so I don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. And this could be a guy that we're going to be relying heavily on early and often. We have a guy by the name of John Bates, too, out of Boise State, who was really better than what I thought he was going to be coming out of Boise State. They made it seem like he was only a blocking tight end, but he quickly showed you that he can be a threat in the passing game, too. So I really like John Bates. I like John Bates more than a lot of people in our fan base does. I think highly of him. A lot of people think he's only going to be a tight end 3. I think he can be a very high usage tight end 3, maybe a tight end 2. Okay, Cole Turner, and then in round 7 we drafted Chris Paul, guard depth. We decided to let go of Eric Flowers. Guard depth we let go of Brandon Scherf. We replaced him with Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner, former Panther guys. We got Sadiq Charles amongst that offensive line too, and now we drafted Chris Paul too from out of Tulsa in round 7, and then we drafted Christian Holmes, cornerback from Oklahoma State. So overall, I just gave you guys a little bit of rundown of our whole entire draft. I like the draft. I give it a B. I'm expecting all of these guys to come in here and make an immediate impact. No one has time to develop. These are guys that we drafted so they can come in here and make immediate impact if they want. So overall, I give this draft a B.
Not bad. At least you're giving me a better understanding of what these players can be. So like when you look at them, like you just said, a lot of those guys that you're looking at, those can be starters instead of the ones last year. Like you said, they were more like redshirt players.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we drafted solely based on projection for last year's draft class, what they can be in a couple years. This year, we drafted guys that are going to come in here and make an immediate impact, i.e. Jahan Dawson, Brian Robinson, Fedarian Mathis, Percy Butler, and all those guys.
Yeah, like you said, Percy Butler can be a versatile on your secondary, just like how we use Jimmy Ward and other players. But when you look at the draft class, like last year, it was kind of like the same thing with the Niners too. We drafted based by development for those other players. Like example, we drafted Aaron Banks in the 2nd round, which at the time we should have never traded down. We should have got ourselves a studded Pro Bowl cornerback that the Chargers eventually took, but we went for a guy that we felt like can be a starter next year. So we went with the guard like Aaron Banks, and he's looked a lot more shizzle, more better shape than he was last year. And they're putting their investment on this guy. So that's how I look at it. And then you look at the fact that Javon Kinlaw, knee issues, but he said his knee looks okay. And then you look at the other rest of the draft picks. Like from this year's draft class that we did, I look at like, okay, Drake Jackson, I don't expect him to be a starter. He's going to be in the rotation, but he might be a starter next year, if nothing else. So he might be one of those good guys to go into the rotation on passing downs, maybe. And then you look at a guy like, we drafted so Drake Jackson. Oh, the running back Ty Davis Price. At the time I didn't like the pick because we had too much depth at running back. But the more I started watching him, I like his physicality. But I'm like questioning: are we not that confident with Trey Sermon or what? That one was more like a head scratching. But we'll see how it plays out. And then Danny Gray, I feel like he has potential to be that guy. Like he's got the speed. He can, after the catch, he's physical. And then you look at the offensive alignment, which the offensive alignment we drafted in the 4th round, I happened to have him on my show like months before the draft. This kid he was versatile, very versatile. He could play the guard and tackle spot. And I asked him some basic questions and simple stuff, and it kind of seemed accurate the way I said it. Like, don't be surprised if you get picked by the Niners because that's how they look at versatility. And I got that shit right.
Yeah, definitely. And I gotta commend you guys, man, because under Kyle Shanahan, y'all always find a way to just have a dominant run game. I mean, whether it's Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon, like you said, Elijah Mitchell, you guys Deebo Samuel, and we can talk about that too, because I really want to. I never talked to a 49ers fan about this whole situation with Deebo Samuel, whether it's Deebo or, like I said, all these other running backs. You guys just make running backs honestly, who was Raheem Mostert before the 49ers? Like, these guys just come out of nowhere and just turn into 1,000-yard rushers under the 49ers, and that's what Kyle Shanahan is. And I can't act surprised, because what was he for us when he was with us as the offensive coordinator? He was a guy that really, I wouldn't say invented the pistol formation, right? But he that 2012 season, he took it to the next level with Alfred Morris and RG3. So again, it's not surprising. It's just like really good. Like, you just grab a running back out of the late round, 6th round, and you just turn him to a 1,000-yard rusher. So I definitely have to commend you guys on that. If you don't get anything right, you guys always hit on the running back, man.
Yeah, that's what I was questioning about at first. When we drafted one in the 3rd round, I'm like, why did we even draft one this early? We always get one in the later undrafted. So that one's probably the one thing I'll be questioning. But the rest of the draft picks, I'm cool with. As far as like the other we drafted a cornerback from Tulsa, so I'm looking more at his film, and he was a shutdown corner from the MAC conference, had 46 pass breakups in the conference, and he was the best shutdown corner. So he was pretty much listed as a nickel. So that's probably what we needed. So I started getting more into that pick, and I said, that might be the guy that can replace Quan Williams' spot. So I feel like he's got speed, and he can definitely play at the next level. And then you get this guy who I feel like could be a project because of the position he's playing, but he was considered like a guy who could play center or guard or tackle. He could play everywhere because he was playing at a small college, which is forget what it was, but it's like a small college in New York. But he came like Nick Zagel, some dude from a very small college, and this dude was like 6'6", 320 pounds, but he knocks people down like a brick wall. And then you look at the rest of the draft picks. Okay, like when I look at the cornerback position, we felt like it was a need at first, but we went deeper by going for a defensive tackle at the UCF guy. The upside, he's coming off an injury, so that might be considered redshirt year, because I don't think he's going to play this year. But he's got upside to be the replacement to DJ Jones, like a 2.0 project. So we're looking to develop that next guy. And then you look at a guy like Tyreek Castro Fields, who played in the same college as Janelle Dotson played at. He had some upsides. The only question mark out of him was his coverage skills in college. He got beat time and time. A little inconsistent, but maybe coachable at the next level could be something that he can work on. And then I guess you can say Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. I don't know if he'll even make the team, but maybe he might have a shot. Oh, Fordham. There you go. That was a small college from New York.
Yeah, so I definitely, it's gonna be interesting, man. I do want to ask, like the takes, just to switch gears a little bit here, man. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but how do you feel about you guys' current quarterback situation? Is Trey Lance going to be the guy? Like, I'm hearing that he isn't looking too good in practice, but then I hear that he is looking amazing in practice, and I forgot the stats, but it was like 28 for 42 or something like that in practice, and then everyone had to be like, relax, man, it's just practice. How are you? How is the quarterback situation? What is the feel there in 49ers Nation, man, amongst reporters, fans, about you guys' quarterback situation? Jimmy Garoppolo, one more year. Trey Lance, is he the guy? What's going on?
Oh, as far as that question, that is a really good question. From what I've been hearing, it's just nothing but guys clickbait stuff out there. But the ones who were reported it out from the organization's perspective, all you see from Trey Lance is throwing good passes. I mean, he's actually had some pretty good performance as far as practice-wise. And then I guess the media just kind of seems to throw him under the bus because he's like the new target everybody wants to throw at since Deebo Samuel drama's over. So they're probably just focused on him. But I watched a lot of his practice of what he's been doing on film, and it seems to me he's improved a little bit more on his accuracy a little bit better. His footwork's kind of look a lot better than last year. As far as like his connections, his completion percentage in practice was probably the best by far. And just like my guy said, the report don't know shit. Like, if you were to look at some clips and all the stuff that's been put out there, all you see from Trey Lance is a lot of good passes, and everything's right on the receiver's money. Like the only time he's ever had like completion, like I think most of the practices he had like maybe about 70% of his completions or something like that in practice, and only had one or two interception in practice, and the rest of it was all touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, man. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm rooting for Trey Lance, man, just because I'm not a big Jimmy G fan. That's why when he like he waived his no trade clause to come here, he basically said, no, I don't want to come to Washington this past offseason. I was happy because I didn't want no parts of Jimmy Garoppolo. He's holding you guys back, man. Like if it wasn't for Jimmy Garoppolo, I think the 49ers would have beat the Chiefs in 2019. I mean, that one right there, that hurts. Was Sanders drop the pass, or did Jimmy Garoppolo underthrow him? Something happened in that 2019.
He overthrew it.
He overthrew him. Okay, yeah, he overthrew the touchdown. You guys catch that you win, right? Jimmy Garoppolo performs better in the NFC Championship, and I'm sure it's other things that happen versus the Rams, stuff like that. But if you have better quarterback play, you guys beat the Rams. Because what they beat was it 17? What was the score for the
17-20, I believe.
Yeah, come on now. You hold the high-powered offensive rank. I know. Sorry, 49ers fans. I know that's your rival. You don't want me to. You don't want me to praise the Rams. Got to call it what it is, though. You held the high-powered offense of the Rams to 20 points, and if you get better quarterback play, you probably win that game, So, I'm glad Jimmy Garoppolo didn't want to come here. I'm fine. I would much rather be happy with Carson Wentz. I'm much happier with Carson Wentz, trust me. But I truly think Jimmy Garoppolo is holding you guys back, man. You guys have a team that can constantly compete for, Super Bowls each and every year. And I'm hoping Trey Lance, he steps up and shuts the haters up, man, because, again, you guys' team is ready to compete, and it's all about the quarterback situation for you guys, similar to here. I mean, but besides, the only thing that you guys have different than us is that you actually proved that you can still win without a quarterback. We're just hoping that the quarterback is the only problem remaining. That's what we think it is. For you guys, we literally know that's the only problem because we've seen you guys compete at a high level, even with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, you go into Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers, Like special teams played a great factor in that game, and Aaron Rodgers didn't look comfortable at all. Anyways, like I said, my point is you guys proved that you can win with Jimmy Garoppolo, and literally all you need is a better quarterback play. We're just hoping that quarterback is the problem. We're just hoping that is, okay?
Well, that's a good way to look at it, the way you're analyzing. Yeah, like if you look at the plays, we were kind of like very close. It just takes one good quarterback play or some consistency out of the position. But we felt like when we drafted Trey Lance, we drafted him in a perfect situation for like most quarterbacks. When you draft these quarterbacks very early and they come to a bad team, they go to the fire and they go through the struggles. And sometimes that ruins confidence for these young quarterbacks because they're put in a bad environment. Like the thing with Trey Lance is he benefited just sitting on the bench for this 1 year with Jimmy Garoppolo and played a couple of significant games. And that's what you want out of a quarterback. But if you put him in a bad team and he's gonna have his growing pains. But when you look at the difference, quarterbacks that play with a good team like that and they just learn 1 year, it benefits them. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, and shout out to my boy Jarris, man. Shout out to you, another Washington Commanders YouTuber over there. I definitely agree. It's different though because you have some guys that come in and just get it like a Joe Burrow, but then you have other guys like Trey Lance and countless other guys that need time to develop, time to sit behind quarterbacks that can show them the ropes. So I think it depends on the situation that you're thrust in, but it also depends on how you are coming out of college. Again, guys like, Joe Burrow and countless others, Kyler Murray, they easily, got to the NFL level. The game slowed down for them at a much faster pace than other guys, And again, yes, the environment that you play in definitely plays a factor, but it's also about how fast can you adapt to the pro game, and it takes people, takes everyone's different. It takes different quarterbacks to adjust at different times, and that's okay. Similar for you guys. Again, you're fortunate enough, and Jimmy Garoppolo is bad. I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. He's terrible. He's holding you guys back, but you definitely are in a much better situation with Jimmy Garoppolo, than other teams that had to throw out a Trey Lance and just had him, had to go out there and just force him to play. For an example, with us, Dwayne Haskins, again, may God rest his soul, he was not ready to play for us week 1. And that was clear. Going back to 2019, that was clear that he wasn't ready to play for us. That's why we rolled with Case Keenum, and granted, he still didn't look ready when he finally played, but at least when you look at it for Trey Lance's sake, he can sit down and he doesn't have to get thrown onto the fire, which can then, he can lose confidence in himself. He can lose the love for the game because he's just constantly getting crushed. He's constantly throwing interceptions and stuff like that. At least he's fortunate enough to have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo in front of him. And again, I'm not saying he's good because he's terrible, but at least he's fortunate enough to have a veteran guy like that in front of him.
Yeah, just like how you look at it, man, it may not be the most popular situation, but when Trey Lance just needed to just learn a 1 year with this team, and having a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, he isn't great by any means, but this is just like having a great mentor just to learn the ropes and then be ready to take the job at this point. Yeah. And I feel like this offseason is definitely the year for Trey Lance to get ahead of the curve because he's already learned the playbook. He's already got the exact understanding of the playbook. It's kind of like just learning the language. It's the same playbook that they played at North Dakota State. It's like you go from learning English to Spanish. Just similar concept. Just common sense of how he should be able to learn it. The difference of what they played at North Dakota State is a lot different than it's very similar. 2 tight end set. They play these type of little West Coast offense plays, and that's pretty much why this is a great fit for Trey Lance to play with the Niners, because why would you want to rush this quarterback on his rookie year when he can just learn how the speed of the game plays and then learn what it's like to play at the next level with a veteran like Jimmy Garoppolo? That's just like how Patrick Mahomes benefited with Alex Smith,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Because again, like I said, players they develop at different rates. Some guys get it as soon as they come in, and some guys need to sit and wait a year or two to develop, and that can all obviously benefit them because then they are ready to take over the league.
Yeah, without a doubt. It just, some of them have it like earlier, like you can say like Justin Herbert, it just took time, but it got there through late in the season. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen, it took him into his 3rd year to finally elevate. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes benefited 1 year of just being a backup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and shoot me, I don't care. Shoot me for it. Josh Allen is the best quarterback in football. I'm taking him over Patrick Mahomes. I said it here first.
Oh man, are we going with the kid that's 45 minutes from Fireball? Man, this guy's not far off where I was from. So this guy's special. I ain't gonna lie. He got a good arm. Mm-hmm. He's gotten better with better weapons. Yeah. It's kind of 50-50 with me, but I would still put Mahomes a little above Allen a little bit. But I do like Allen. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player.
Either one, I would take on my team at the end of the day. But I just like him a little bit more. I like his game a little bit better. I think he's more athletically gifted than Patrick Mahomes. But again, Patrick Mahomes is great. Obviously one of the best quarterbacks. If you say he's the best quarterback, I'm not going to be mad at you. But I just like Josh Allen a little bit more. He's my favorite. He's my non-favorite Washington player, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Josh Allen, he doesn't run scare. He runs with fearless mentality. Like, even if he needs to get the first down and nobody's open, you can see this guy scramble and he'll be hard to tackle.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we look at the way how Washington's building up this offense, I mean, you got Carson Wentz, but the thing with Carson Wentz is it's kind of like a very big question mark with him. Like he's on his 3rd team for the last couple of years. Now the only question is, can he stay healthy? Can he be as consistent, or is he just a locker room cancer? I don't know. There's just different question marks.
Yeah, so I'm gonna address it like backwards, okay? I thought he was a locker room cancer, just because that's what you hear, and you tend to run with the first thing that you hear, which isn't good by any means, because you want to know both sides of the story. But I don't think he's a cancer. I don't think he's a cancer at all. I mean, you go back to his Eagles days. It's now news coming out that Howie Roseman, when he got knocked out of that 2019 playoff game versus Seattle when Jadeveon Clowney gave him a concussion, it was talks that Howie Roseman was in the locker room telling him, like, if you don't go back out there, you'll never play for the Eagles again, while he's throwing up and his wife is crying and stuff because he just got hurt. And all they're worried about is him as a football player, not him as a person. I definitely don't think he's a locker room cancer. I think that narrative is overplayed and is overused and just something to kind of hold down Carson Wentz. Then you go to the Colts. Irsay, the owner, he's continually bashing Carson Wentz, saying that they really should never have traded for Wentz and stuff like that. It's like, again, I understand Wentz hasn't been the best, but I mean, let's not act like he didn't just go 27-7. Granted, that 27-7 you have to take light because he had a great running game within Jonathan Taylor. But again, I think that narrative is kind of overused. Then you go with, can he stay healthy? Yeah, that's a big question too. Can he stay healthy? I mean, he did for the most part last year. But if he can stay healthy, I think he can be really, really good for us. I think our line can keep him upright. I think he's becoming smarter as a quarterback as now he got older. He said he's not as reckless as he once was when he was much younger. So I definitely think he's got smarter. And he even said that in his introductory press conference here, that he is knowing when to just give up on a play and just live to fight another day, because he's a guy that kind of wants to just get it all in one play, and that could be, bad. You throw interception and stuff like that, but instead of doing that, just throw it out of bounds, man. 2nd and 10, line it back up, and he's saying he's learning how to do that, And then lastly, is he going to be, Carson Wentz of old? Like, is he going to be the unquestioned starter? This is his 3rd team in 3 years. You're right. This is the last chance for Carson Wentz. I mean, this is the last chance that he has to prove that he's the unquestioned to start. If anything, Carson Wentz, he flames out this year, he's still going to be a backup in this league, of course. But this is the last time he's going to have to prove that he's the guy, that he's the unquestioned guy. And I'm not being biased when I say this. I'm not being just, with my heart on my sleeve. I'm being realistically as a sports fan. He just seems more comfortable, confident when he talks and when he plays in OTAs, and he just seems more happier in this environment. Ron Rivera told him straight up, "You're here. You're here where you're wanted. You're welcome. We want you here." And the Colts, with the Colts, you can clearly see that, especially with, Irsay coming out after just continuing to bash him and tell him that they really didn't want him. Basically, Ron went out his way to constantly tell him here that he's wanted here, and we're showing him that. And I think that's going to allow him to go out there and play much more freely, not put pressure on himself, and allow him to perform how he once did. Because again, Carson Wentz, it wasn't not too long ago where Carson Wentz was talked about as one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and he just faced adversity with injuries with Jalen Hurts. And then that last year, he played solid. He played well enough for their team to go to the playoffs, but they kind of collapsed late in the season. So again, he's a big question mark, but I think we're going to be fine. I really do. Every day I wake up, my confidence and for Carson Wentz kind of grows. I just look at it with our schedule this year. We can't be no worse than 7-10, because we went 7-10. And like I told you early when the stream first started, we played one of the hardest schedules in football last year. I mean, I'm talking facing Josh Allen, facing Aaron Rodgers, facing Tom Brady, facing Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott twice. So we played one of the hardest schedules in football last year, and we went 7-10 with Taylor Heineke. There's no way you're telling me, with how easier this schedule is, that we can't win at least 10 games with Carson Wentz at quarterback. That's just how I truly look at it. And again, I'm not being biased when I say that, but I just feel like Carson Wentz is definitely much more comfortable in this environment here in Washington.
Well, like you said, you made a good argument. Like, you guys won 7 games with Heineke at quarterback, and to be honest, I think Heineke is more of a serviceable backup. But even with that kind of schedule that you guys played last year, you got to admit that was impressive, even though the stats don't say it all. But you won with a guy that's not even capable to be a starter. Then you go from a guy like Carson Wentz. that's the only question. You guys are rolling the dice and hoping this guy pays off. And to look at it this way, your competition should be solid. I mean, when you look into what's going on with the team in general, man, the ownership, man, that's the one thing. This is the interesting part about your team is the ownership going on with Dan Snyder, man. Is it true that he has to be forced to sell the team or not yet?
Oh, definitely no. That's not true at all. I wish it was, but no. Come on. If that was the case, we would have seen that. That would have been news that would have been everywhere. Daniel Snyder is not being forced to sell the team. I don't think he's going to be. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be here for the next 20, 30 years into his demise. And yeah, we're going to be stuck with Daniel Snyder for quite some time. He's not going to be forced to sell the team. Don't let these articles clickbait you into thinking that. He just made a share to buy. Well, not just. This happened a couple months ago, but he literally just bought 100% of the Washington Commanders because at first he had some minority owners. He bought them all out. The NFL, I believe, but they gave him a loan or something like that. I don't know how that worked, but they literally helped him purchase the whole entire franchise. So now it's literally just him as the 100% owner of this team. He's not going anywhere, unfortunately. He's going to be here.
Well, thanks for debunking that situation because that's been something I've been hearing about. And, just like an outside looking in, I feel like a lot of Washington fans are really upset with Dan Snyder, which I don't blame you guys. Like his type of reputation has been really bad, especially what's been going on. He's been investigated for a lot of stuff that he's been doing illegally.
Yeah, definitely. It's some things that he is getting away with. Obviously, I don't know that 100% sure, but I definitely think that he has some things to do with some foul play back in the day. Guys like Larry Michael, a voice radio guy, he stepped down because of it, because he got busted for it and he didn't want to face the pressure. Was talked about Bruce Allen and countless other guys in this organization, but somehow Daniel Snyder has nothing to do with this, right? He knows nothing about this, right? Come on now. You really believe that? This is your team. You pay for this team. You know everything that's going on in your building. He has something to do with it, but unfortunately, the NFL doesn't think so. Now, I will say this. It talks about how he kind of he's fleecing the NFL of some money. Apparently, give you the short rundown of what I saw was apparently he didn't give the away teams their share of, so basically this is how it works, okay? And I'm sure you know this. The away team they get a cut of the game that the games that happen, and apparently Daniel Snyder wasn't giving them their share. I believe I have that right. I don't want to run away with something that isn't true, but it's something like that where apparently he wasn't paying, I guess, the away team. And now if that's true and that comes out to be proven, proven right, that could be something that could possibly get him to sell. But the other situations with allegations with the cheerleaders and stuff like that, I don't think that is going to be enough to make him sell the team. But again, with this new thing coming out with him possibly not paying, the away team's owner and stuff like that comes out to be true, that'll be something to watch, definitely.
Yeah, because he's under a lot of investigation, a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of this stuff, it's not looking good if you guys had to deal with this guy. I mean, just like for an outside looking in, I mean, if I think for 1 second having Jed York is terrible, I can't imagine just having Dan Snyder as an owner, man. Like this guy comes and parties, right? And he's kind of like the kind of guy you want to go on a party with and get all them ladies out there. But Jed York kind of like that creepy guy you don't want to be around. So, but I get that it's a lot of that situation. But like you said, he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So despite all this stuff of him getting in trouble, it's just a lot of stuff going on. Then they're talking about these illegal emails that kind of connected towards John Gruden, towards the Washington Commanders, which I didn't understand what made sense. It only linked towards Bruce Allen, and then it led to a lot of other stuff, which I didn't understand about that.
Yeah. Again, that's crazy how you're searching for stuff about the Commanders, right? You're searching stuff. That whole investigation was to find things about the Washington Commanders, Washington Redskins, Washington football team, and owner Dan Snyder. and you somehow come across John Gruden's emails, right, about how he basically was calling, Roger Goodell out of his name and stuff like that, and then something happens to him. That's just how it is being a Washington fan, being in Washington organization. You just drag everyone else into your mess. Like, if it wasn't for us, John Gruden would probably still be the Raiders head coach because no one would know about those emails. So yeah, we drag everyone into our mess, and on the behalf of our team, I want to apologize for everyone, man. We're bad represented by Ron Rivera. He's trying his best to change that, but as long as Daniel Snyder's at the helm, man, nothing's going to change, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as your team perspective, I mean, man, it's just like there's certain stuff that you guys burn bridges with, especially a guy like Trent Williams. Mm-hmm. That one's kind of like something I never understood, but it had to do with the medical check, and that's what led him to leave. And did you kind of felt like it was wrong of what Washington did, or you kind of felt differently?
Yeah, so if I could remember correctly, that was about 2.5 years ago. I think I said I was kind of in the middle with it. But now after really looking at how that situation was handled, I'm on the side of Trent Williams on his side. At first, I believe I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said, so I'm not even going to try to remember. I think I said something about because he said he couldn't put his helmet on his head and stuff like that. I think I was in the middle, but now after looking back on it, I'm on the side of Trent Williams, man. It was unfortunate how that was handled. I'm glad he's in a much better situations where he's much more happier and he can actually go compete for a ring because Trent Williams was one of our best players for a very, very long time. He's one of the best left tackles in all of football, man. And when he's healthy, he is definitely up there when it comes to best tackles in ball.
Yeah, he definitely is. Like, he still got it at that same level, even at this point of his career. Most tackles don't tend to they tend to slow down once they get up to the higher 30s, but seems like Trent Williams, ever since he took a year off, he's gotten fresher, he's gotten better, and he's looked a lot happier than he's ever felt. So it's like, at the same time, it is what it is, but when we look at it that way, man, I don't know. It's just like okay, as a person looking for an outside looking in, I got a special place for the Commanders in some ways because my sister is a fan of the team, and then my uncle, God rest his soul. This is kind of like something that kind of goes into their respect. They've been going through the type of bad times with the way you guys were playing, and they've always had to keep the optimistic, and that's just how they felt about the team. But when you look at the way you guys are as a team, you guys have pretty much changed your culture, and you guys are trying to build it the right way. And Ron Rivera is more like an old school approach. He doesn't take none of this childish behavior. He doesn't tolerate that because he comes from a military. So he's definitely trying to do the best he can, but he could do so much with Dan Snyder's BS.
Yeah. Again, Ron Rivera, that old school approach, I don't like it per se sometimes, just because it's like it's times where you see young guys like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. You see the young offensive minded guys taking over the league, and at times it just seems like we're inept at that. We don't like the change. We're old school, like you said, and that's how Ron Rivera is. And again, you see at times why that could be good because he can take advantage of some of these young guys, and that old school approach works sometimes. But then there's other times where it's like, come on, Ron, the game is the game passing you by. Are you inept at changing your coaching as the league progresses? Like, again, that's where it goes back to young offensive minded coaches. It was a time where before we hired Ron Rivera, I wanted a guy like Kevin O'Connell, who was our offensive coordinator at the time. Now he's the head coach of the Vikings, I believe. I wanted him to be our offensive coordinator because our head coach, because I seen what Sean McVay was doing with the Rams. I was seeing what Kyle Shanahan was doing with the 49ers, and I wanted that for us. I wanted a high-powered offense, and we got Ron Rivera, which I'm happy about. I'm glad we got Ron. I'm not mad at the head coaching option. I'm not mad at the head coaching situation, but there is times where it's like Ron has that old school approach where he doesn't want to change and he wants to just go with what he knows. And he's like, Ron, it's not 2010 no more, bro. It's not 2009 no more. It's not 1986 when you were playing, 1985 when you were a part of that great Bears defense. It's 2022, man. These offenses are much faster. Teams are dropping 30 points like it ain't nothing. We gotta change. And other than that, I'm fine with Ron Rivera being our head coach, man. I mean, come on, who else wanted to be our head coach? He took on this challenge, and I do feel bad for him at times because it's like he's our general manager too, by the way. Like, yes, it says Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney is our general manager, but it goes through him. Like, everything goes through him. Literally, everything goes through him. He is the guy, and I do feel bad for him at times because he has to get up there and ask questions about Dan Snyder stuff that happened 10 years ago and currently happening. And it's like, I didn't do none of this. But since Dan Snyder isn't a guy that publicly speaks a lot, unless it's a new hire, you have to ask them questions. I feel bad for Ron because he has to now get up there and answer questions about Jack Del Rio and what Jack Del Rio was saying on Twitter. Ron isn't doing this stuff. But again, this is what he signed up for. This is what he knew he was walking into. That's why I said we still have to hold him accountable for disciplining Jack Del Rio for what happened in this past week with his words on Twitter. But then again, I also feel bad because it's like he's not doing this stuff. He's trying to change this culture. He's doing a damn good job at changing this culture. But it is little nicks like that kind of, makes me feel a little bit bad for Ron.
Yeah, in a way, he can do so much, and that's how we look at it that way. So, yeah, man, like it's just, it's an intriguing team because, the NFC East is wide open, and this is the Washington Commanders, a team that changed the name for the second time in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is the team that maybe there's optimistic hope for you guys when you look at it this way. Since they changed the name, I think I can look into the 8 ball and say the Commanders have won the NFC East. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's my prediction of the 8 ball. I'm looking at it and thinking, hey, you got a Carson Wentz. You got a quarterback that can get you 10 or more wins, right? So you got to be optimistic about it. I feel like that's a good thing because you got the NFC East. It's not like as competitive as everybody looks at it, but it's definitely something that you guys are familiar with. So you guys have something to prove, the pressure, the media, and then the Carson Wentz. That's the one question I'm looking at. When I'm looking at as an outside looking in for the Commanders, man, Carson Wentz, that's definitely the question mark. I want to see how he does. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't want to put preseason predictions out there for Wentz, but again, I did a video where I went over all his stats, man, all of his stats in this past years, and I'll pull it up here quickly just to go over them. I looked at his stats, man, and I'm like, if we can just get some of this guy, like if we can get last year's guy. Last year he went 3,563, 27 and 7. If we get that from Wentz, we're literally winning the division. 2019, 4,020, and he went 27 and 7, 4,000 yards, 27 and 7. That's amazing. I'm not even asking for nothing for 4,000 yards, but again, that's good enough to win this division. That is crazy good to win this division. Then in 2018, 3,074 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. That's cool. If we get that, we're winning this division, in my opinion. If we don't win this division, that just means the Eagles were crazy good. The Cowboys were crazy good again. And even if we don't win a division with those stats, we are definitely going to be maybe the 6, 7, 6, or maybe even the 5 seed. You still have to think the NFC West is going to hold two playoff teams until proven not. But if we can just get semi Wentz, like if we can just get last year's Wentz or 2018 Wentz, we're good. That's how bad this quarterback position has been for us. We don't even need someone to be super amazing. We just need someone that's going to take care of the ball and going to take chances and score the ball when we need to. Because our defense, again, it still some question marks just because they aren't what we thought they were going to be, considering the fact of last year's defense. But our team is good all over to the point where all we need is just a solid QB play,
Yeah, for sure, man. That's the thing that stands out, So we'll wait and see how it goes, man. I'm definitely looking forward to this season, man, but I appreciate you on going on the show, man. I'm going to give you the solo introduction, man. Maybe later in the season we can definitely catch up once again, maybe on your channel.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I appreciate you for coming on or having me on, rather. And yeah, we definitely going to chop it up again, man. Good luck to your 49ers. It's me and boy Juan Gotti. Make sure you guys check me out on my channel, YouTube at Juan Gotti Talk Sports, Twitter, follow me on there at Juan Gotti Talk Sports, and Instagram, and hopefully my Commanders can finally do something, man. Hopefully we can actually be good and put on my faith in Carson Wentz to take us to the promised land, man. So again, I appreciate CG for having me on, and we'll definitely chop it up again soon.
Yeah, for sure, man. Go check out Juan Gotti, everybody. Awesome Washington Commanders content creator, does a lot of his analytics and does good stuff. So you definitely guys got to check him out. He's very realistic, very good on his analogy or whatever they say, the analytic stuff. But so I definitely approve this. And as always, CG Ruthless Sports and Juan Gotti Talk Sports is out, and see y'all later.
Peace.